This is Dr. Prashant Kumar Dhakar from School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Jaipur National University. Today, we are going to discuss the topic about the human anatomy and physiology. I'll discuss you about the basics of the human anatomy and physiology. See, before we start the major topics, we will discuss about the definitions of anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is the study of the structure of the body components, while physiology discusses about the functions performed by the various parts of the body, or we can also say about the various body systems. See, further anatomy has been in detail classified into gross anatomy, microscopic anatomy, as well as surface anatomy. So, gross anatomy, you can say in the gross anatomy, we discuss about the regional aspects of the particular tissues and what particular cells. Then in the systemic, about the various systems, different systems, body systems like cardiovascular system, digestive system, kidney or excretory system. So what on what type of cells these systems are made up of. Then in the surface, depending on the particular surface, if we are talking about the particular surface like our kidney or cardiovascular, so what type of cells or tissues are these made up of? So these all are being studied within the anatomy. Next is the microscopic anatomy. Microscopic anatomy deals with the two aspects. The first one is cytology, another one is histology. Cytology discusses about the study of cells, and histology discusses about the tissues, study of tissues. The third concept about the anatomy is the developmental anatomy. See, normally when a baby is born, so before the baby born, or we can also say that after the fertilization till the born of the baby, what the development phase goes on within the womb, within the fetus, all these are being studied within the developmental anatomy. So it is all about the embryology. Next is the physiology. Physiology discusses, as we have already discussed about the physiology, that it deals with the study of the functions, how the various particular organs or organ systems or cellular systems functions in our body. So this we are going to study within the physiology. For example, here we have discussed about the renal, kidney, neurophysiology and cardiovascular physiology. So in the renal, we will discuss about the kidney functions, how the kidney functions. There are three important concepts about the kidney. Initially, it is the tubular filtration, followed by tubular secretion and tubular reabsorption. So these are the major functions of the kidney, or we can also say about the nephrons. So this all will going to be studied within the kidney. Similarly, neurophysiology, how nerves are located and what are their functions, what are the parasympathetic nerves, what are the sympathetic nerves, and how they are being interrelated with each other, how they functions, how they transmit their signals from the brain to the effector organ and also from the receptor to the brain. So all these concepts will be discussed within this unit. Next is the cardiovascular. Since heart is the major organ, it receives as well as supplies the blood to the whole of the body. So this concepts about how the heart functions, how the oxygenated blood is received by the deoxygenated blood is received by the heart, and oxygenated blood is transmitted again by the heart to the whole body, will be focused within this unit. So understanding the physiology also requires a knowledge of physics also. See, since physics is spread all over in all the fields and all the branches, here in the human anatomy and physiology, physics participates a major role. Blood pressure is being measured by the baroreceptors. Secondly, similarly, electric currents. Whenever the electric currents moves from the brain to the effector organ or from the receptor to the brain, these are being supplied with the help of ionic exchange, sodium ion exchange, potassium ions, chloride ions. So these ions participates a major role. So depending on the electric gradient, this plays a very important role. So physics also does play a very good role in the human anatomy and physiology. Now comes the levels of structural organization. Our body is made up of the smallest unit from the atoms, which unites and combines to form the molecules. These molecules sums up to form the cells, and these cells further unites together to form the tissues. See, cells of the similar nature combines together to form the tissues, and the tissues further being in the you can say in the further unites together to form the organs, and further organs forms the different organ systems, and these organ systems form a complete human body. Here in this diagram we have discussed how the chemicals or the chemical level atoms combines to form the molecules. These molecules further sums up to form a particular type of cell which is called a smooth muscle cell, which is the part of the cellular level, and these cells unites together to form the tissues. So this is the tissue level, which further tissues have been again classified into various types like epithelial tissue, connective tissue, nervous tissue and muscle tissue. So there are 4 major types of tissues, and these tissues combines together to form the organs, and each organ made up of different tissues. So in this manner the complete organism is formed. Now comes the organ systems of the body. Now we are going to discuss about the physiological pattern, how the physiology and the functions occurs in the various body organs. See, first one is the integumentary system. Integumentary system is the system which involves the first line of defense, or we can also say these systems includes the hairs, then skin, nails, and glands like sebaceous glands and oil glands or sweat glands. So these glands, hairs, nails, these actually provides the first line of defense to the body. That means before any microorganisms enters into the body, these structures, these components participates in fighting against these and does not allow these things to enter into the body. So here it is also written that it protects the deep tissues from the injury and synthesizes the vitamin D. Here I would like to stress upon the vitamin D, since cholesterol is the major part that is found within the fats, that is found within the skin also. So these cholesterol, when being acted over by the heat that we receive from the sunlight, actually converts or transforms into vitamin D, and vitamin D is very essential for our body, for the bone growth, for the calcium, and it is a very important unit. Next, the skeletal system. Since the skeletal system composed of the bones, then cartilages, ligaments which connects bones to bones, so this is also very important part. It participates in protecting and supporting the body organs. Then it also provides a framework for the muscles. Muscles actually lies over the skeletal system. Skeletal system participates or plays a very major role. Also, it is also the site of blood formation. We have you might have already studied about the red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, which are synthesized within the bone marrow. And red bone marrow is the portion that lies at the periphery of the bones, long bones. So within these bones only the synthesis of RBCs, WBCs, platelets occurs from the pluripotent stem cells. Apart from this, bones also stores the minerals in the form of calcium as well as potassium, which I would like to discuss, that calcium and the potassium stores about more than 90% within as compared to the whole of the body. Next is the muscular system. The muscle system, which lies over the skeletal system, is composed of muscles as well as tendons. Here I would like to discuss about the tendons. The tendons joins the bone to the muscles. Now, muscular part allows the manipulation of the environment or locomotion, or we can also say the muscles participates in the locomotion of the movement of the body parts. Apart from this, muscles also maintains the body posture. It gives the facial expression, how the facial expression occurs. Apart from this, since it stores the heat also. See, during the winter seasons, our body automatically undergoes the phenomena called as homeostasis. So within the homeostasis, the body maintains our heat at the same temperature of 37.5. As compared apart from the temperature that might be lesser as compared to our body. So this maintenance of heat is being done by muscles. Next is the nervous system. See, nervous system actually made up of the neurons, then brain, spinal cord, or we can also say the central nervous system is the part includes the brain as well as the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which includes all the nerves apart from the brain and spinal cord, or which originates from the brain and spinal cord. So it is a fast acting control system of the body. See, fast acting means there are certain actions which have to be completed within a fraction of seconds, like reflex action. If our body gets contact with some pricking needle, gets contact with some heating pan, we promptly remove our hand from the particular region. This is all because of the reflex actions. Reflex actions is the part of the nervous system. So secondly, it also responds to the stimuli by activating muscles and glands. So muscles and glands all receive signal from the brain, and from the brain or spinal cord originates neurons, which participates in providing the particular signals. Next is the cardiovascular system. Cardiovascular system involves the heart. Heart is the major organ which supplies the blood to the whole of the body parts. It also composed of the blood vessels, larger blood vessels, and it pumps the blood. Then blood vessels transport the blood throughout the body. We all know that the lungs is the major organ which causes the oxygenation as well as the deoxygenation of the blood. That means oxygenated blood when moves out of the lungs enters into the heart, and then heart provides or supplies complete oxygenated blood to the complete body. Next is the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is also composed of the red bone marrow, thymus, spleen, lymph nodes, and lymphatic vessels. See, lymphatic system picks up the leaked part of the blood or any other component of the blood, and it again picks it up and again restores into the blood. Apart from this, lymphatic system also has a major role in providing immunity. It consists of WBCs, which fights against the particular microorganisms which may enter after crossing the first line of defense. So, apart from this, this lymphatic system also disposes of the debris in the stream, in its own stream. Next is the respiratory system. Respiratory system composed of lungs, trachea, then primary, secondary bronchi. So this respiratory system is essential, is necessary for the body, as it is necessary. It keeps the blood supplied with oxygen and removes the carbon dioxide. Next is the digestive system. Digestive system involves the part of oral mouth cavity, then esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, then finally anal canal and rectum. So digestive system churns the food that we take it from throughout our mouth, and after absorption of the nutrients into the blood, it removes the waste material in the form of feces. So here these things are mentioned in the slide also. So next is the urinary system. Urinary system composed of kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. The most important function of the kidney is formation of the urine, and also the removal of nitrogenous waste from the body through the urine. It also regulates the water, electrolyte, and pH balance of the blood. The last system is the reproductive system. Male and the female reproductive systems are there within the humans. So male reproductive system involves composed of prostate glands, penis, testis, scrotum, and ductus deferens. The main function is the production of the offsprings, and testis is responsible for the production of sperms and also the male sex hormones. Now ducts and the glands deliver the sperm to the female reproductive duct. Then comes the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system composed of mammary glands, ovaries, uterine tubes, uterus, and vagina. As similar to the male reproductive system, the main role of the female reproductive system is the production of offsprings, where ovaries produces eggs and also the female sex hormones, while the remaining structure serves as the site of fertilization and further development of the fetus. The mammary glands are responsible to eject the milk and helps in nourishing the child or newborn. Next comes the organ systems interrelationships. There are a very good relationship between the various organ systems that are found in our body. See, initially, we know that the first line of defense is provided by the integumentary system. Or even though if any microbes enters into the body, then there is the blood, there is the lymphatic system. Apart from this, there are antibodies which engulfs and kills all these microbes. Then there is the digestive and the respiratory system is also there, which is responsible for respiration and entry of the pure oxygenated blood in our body. The nutrients and oxygens are easily available in the blood, and metabolic waste are eliminated through urine as well as the feces. Next comes the homeostasis. Homeostasis is the condition of equilibrium in our body. Since the body may be susceptible to the various environments, that may be the heat, that may be any other environment which tends to change the internal Nike of the body. But our body has a very good system of homeostasis which maintains the continuous state as it is. For example, temperature. If we go to the colder regions, the temperature outside is lower as compared to our body, but still our body maintains the same temperature within the range of 37.5 degrees centigrade. How? It is just because of homeostasis. There is the feedback mechanisms that operates to maintain this temperature. Similarly, if blood glucose level changes or varies in the diabetics or some other patients, so this blood glucose level is also being monitored and being subjected to the normal level after a particular release of hormones like insulin from the glands, and which maintains the level of glucose in the blood. So there are different body fluids like plasma, blood plasma, which is the extracellular fluid found in the blood vessels, lymph found in the lymphatic vessels, CSF, cerebrospinal fluid found in the brain and the spinal cord, synovial fluid found in the joints, and finally aqueous humor, which is forms the part of the eyes. So homeostasis is being managed within our body. As we have already discussed that a number of environmental factors may subject the change of homeostasis, but still our body maintains it. So this is the feedback system. In the feedback system, there are participation of the three major components. First is the receptor, which is also called as input. Second is the control center, and third is the effector, which is also called as the output. So receptor receives any change in the signal, any change. So this change is being transmitted to the brain, which acts as a controlling center. And this brain, which acts as a controlling center, again retransmits the signal to the effector organ, which causes that whatever the change that has to be monitored in the body occurs. So this slide also discusses about the receptor, control center and the effector. Whenever there is a balance in the body, and if it is being affected by some changes, environmental changes, and imbalance occurs, again rebalances take place with the help of feedback mechanism. So there is a negative feedback as well as the positive feedback. See, negative feedback mechanisms operates in the blood pressure change. Whenever there is a blood pressure change, negative feedback mechanisms operate, and again our blood pressure continues to form into the normal range, that is of 120 mm of Hg and 80 mm of Hg, lower blood pressure and higher. Similarly, blood glucose level is also being the part of the negative feedbacks. For the positive feedback, the birth of a child, it forms the part of the positive feedback. So, as it is written that it strengthens and reinforces a change in one of the body's controlled conditions, for example, normal birth, childbirth. Now we are going to start about the anatomical terminology. See, anatomical terminology are very important as far as the medical science is concerned. Since the particular patient or the particular subject, in which position it stands, in which position it lies, it is necessary to write it scientifically. So anatomical position, we regard the anatomical position whenever the person is standing in an erect, straight posture, its hands are lying side by side and the palms are facing forward, while legs or feet are also facing forward and eyes are also facing forward. So this is the condition of anatomical position. Secondly, there are certain directional terms which are necessary to be understood as far as the human anatomy and physiology is concerned. So, the first is the superior. Whenever we are talking about the portion or the part which are lying near to the head, so these are called as the superior portion, and the portions that are lies inferior or just below the abdomen towards the feet, these are called as inferior. So these two terms, superior and inferior, are related towards the head as well as towards the feet respectively. Next is the anatomical terminology, which is anterior and posterior. Anterior refers to the forward portion, that means towards the ventral region, towards the chest part, while the posterior lies towards the shoulder region, or it is also called as dorsal region. So anterior and posterior are related to the portion of the chest as well as towards the shoulder. Next directional term is the proximal and distal. Any part or any portion of the body, any organ of the body which lies away from the origin, will be called as the proximal, while will be called as the distal, while the portion which lies towards the origin of the particular body part is called as the proximal. For example, our fingers lies distal to this joint. Alright, distal to this gliding joint. So this is called as, these fingers will be called as proximal, distal, while the proximal is farther from the distal is farther from the origin. Next directional terms are superficial and deep. Superficial refers for those portion which lies at the surface, while the deep lies inside. For example, if we take a cross-sectional view of any organ part, the outer layers will be made up of epithelial tissue which forms the superficial part, while the inner layers or the inner cells will be formed as the deeper part. Next is the visceral and parietal. See, visceral region is pertaining to the covering of an organ, while the parietal region is pertaining to a covering against the cavity wall. So these are the different anatomical terminologies like cranial, cervical, cubital, carpal, patellar, orbital, thoracic and inguinal, which refers to the particular region. Since the skull refers to the cranial regions, since the cranium forms the part of the skull. Secondly, cervical, which forms the part of the neck. Then cubital forms the part of elbow, where injections are given. Then carpal is related to the wrist portion, since the carpal bones are lying in the wrist, that's why. Then patellar, which is also called as kneecap, which forms the part of the knee. Then orbital, which is the part of the eyes. Thoracic forms the part of chest. Inguinal forms the part of the reproductive organs or groin regions. Next is the body planes. There are three major body planes: sagittal, transverse and frontal. Sagittal region breaks or divides the body through the midline. Alright, that means it divides into right half and left half. Transverse region divides the body into first half and second half. That means the region which lies above the abdomen and region which lies below the abdomen. Third is the frontal or the coronal. It divides the body into anterior and posterior parts, as are being indicated in the slide. These are the certain orientation and directional terms for your reference. Now lastly, there are the 9 abdominopelvic regions in which our abdomen or pelvic region is being classified. From the central region we start, it is the umbilical region. Right to it is the right lumbar region and left to it is the left lumbar region. Just above the umbilical region lies the epigastric region, just right to the epigastric region is the right hypochondric region and left one is the left hypochondric region. Below the umbilical region lies hypogastric region, and to the right part of this hypogastric region is the right iliac region, and to the left is the left iliac region. So dear students, we now sum up our today's lecture and we will continue about these topics in our next lectures. Thank you.